guys, welcome back to the channel by ByMWu. I'm ByMWu, aka Marianne. It's been a while since I've sat down, and I say that all the time, but I genuinely think the last time I filmed a podcast was the beginning of August, and so we have a lot to catch up on. So grab something fun to work on and let's jump in. As usual, we'll start with what I'm wearing today. This is one that I've been waiting to wear for such a long time, and it's the Clematis sweater chunky version by Maier. I actually got to test knit this for her earlier this summer, so I've been counting down the days till colder weather to actually be able to wear it and not sweat my butt off. And the last couple days here where I live has finally been in that time range where it's like 10 to 12 degrees Celsius in the morning, and then by the afternoon it warms up, so you can wear a sweater on your morning walk and then take it off and wear a t-shirt for the rest of the day. And it's been just like that perfect like fall cooling. Not fall, it actually still is like, it's been that perfect transitional weather for sure. I won't talk about this one too heavily because since it was a relatively recently finished object, I've talked about it a bunch in the past. Just high level, this is the chunky version of the famous Clematis sweater that Emma designed. It is basically a classic stockinette sweater with a little pizzazz, which is this diagonal button band. I think she has the like DK weight version. She also has a vest, and then this is the chunky version. Mine is made in the recommended yarn, which is Erika Knight's pure tweed in the color, I want to say like Scottish border multicolor, something along those lines, and it's held with a strand of mohair. The specific mohair that I used was the Kremke Soul Wool and their Silky Kid, and both yarns were provided to me at a discount for the test knit, which I'm really thankful for. But they create a really beautiful combination. You get a little bit of fuzz, and the tweedy yarn is just like so much fun with so many speckles of color. I've mentioned this in the past, but if you're curious in this specific color tweedy yarn, just know that it definitely leans more pink. When I originally purchased it, I thought it was gonna be more of a neutral undertone with just like flecks on it, but then when it came in, it definitely has like a pink hue to it. But it's a beautiful yarn. The ceramic buttons are super fun, which were custom made for this design, and everything about it is just super fun. So last thing I'll mention before I move on is that this yarn combination is a little itchy. So if you're someone who is a little bit more sensitive to yarns or wools, I don't know if I would recommend it. I am okay. I find that I'm probably relatively itch tolerant. I am wearing this like next to skin underneath. I'm wearing a tank top, so it's not terrible, but I definitely am someone who isn't as bothered by like the itching or the mohair sensation. So just keep that in mind if this is something that you're interested in. I'm sure there are a lot of nice chunky yarns too that don't have that necessary scratch factor if you're curious in making a version. So that's what I'm wearing today. Let's get into the finished objects. I have two. Both of these were finished last month, so they don't feel that new to me anymore. The first one is an accessory, which was also a test knit, a really quick test knit though. And this is the Leda Bag by Megan Houghton, I believe. Her Instagram handle is Pearl by Ray, and she is a Canadian designer based in, I believe, Winnipeg, which is really cool. And this is a little accessory bag that has some swans on it. It's so cute. I applied for this on a whim just because I like wanted something like a little bit of a change. I've been doing a lot of sweaters and garments, which is my preferred knitting thing, but every once in a while I just like to change things up. So I did this one. I applied not thinking I would get it, to be honest with you, but then got it, and it was such a quick knit. I think this project I knit up in about 2 days, and that's not a flex or anything. It's just like a fact of like the matter that it's a rectangle that's mostly stockinette with a little bit of color work in it, and the color work is relatively straightforward, so it's really not a big commitment. Mine is made in a combination of Holst Garn Supersoft held with a strand of Holst Garn Coach. I'll grab them for you so you can see them. The Supersoft that I use with this color, it's called Crocus. It's a really beautiful purple, like a lighter purple with a little bit of like blue in it. And then this is the coast that I use, which is called River. And it's definitely like a blue, in my opinion, with like, I guess it could lean purple depending on how you hold it. Like in my mind, these don't look that great together. But that being said, I'm really happy with the marling of the bag. So there goes to show you that sometimes like colors that you don't think would go together decently well. And I think that's probably because the Crocus actually has like a little bit of blue and it brings this out. So to this point, this bag is really great if you want to do like a quick scrappy project. All the yarn that I used for mine was scrap yarn, and this bag comes in a bunch of sizes. So if you don't like this size, which I knit the small and it's approximately 19 by 19 centimeters, there is also an extra small version, a medium version, and a large version. I don't exactly remember the actual ranges, but I'll link the Ravelry page below if you're curious and want to make different ones. And the great thing about accessories like this is that you don't have to really hit gauge to get a good finished product, as opposed to like a garment that if your gauge is a little bit off, sometimes that could really mess up the final product. With these ones, I find that I guess the like risk versus reward is like not that bad. You could kind of YOLO and not do a gauge swatch and get an easily beautiful garment, or sorry, finished object. So yeah, mine is the small version. I did the small swan motif. She also has a large swan motif if that is more your interest. And I have them facing the same direction, just around. You could also flip this one over and have it be, sorry, you could also flip this one over and have them facing each other to have more of that like traditional lover swan look. And I think it's so cute. I think it's such a fun, quick knit. It would be really great for gift knits if you wanted to just pump out some for some friends or family and use up some scrap yarn. The only comment that I will make about it is that the inside is unfinished. She doesn't give you instructions on how to add a lining. So if that is something of interest, you'd have to find like a different tutorial for that. I've never done a lining in a bag, so I don't know how it is. But this is what mine looks like from the inside. I forgot to mention that the black and the orange of the swan's beak is actually double stitch, which was my first time using the double stitch technique. I think it turned out okay, but it is a little bulky there, which I guess is part of the nature because you are putting twice the amount of yarn. It's still cute though. And from afar, I think it's really adorable. So that is this Leda bag. Let's see my notes to see if I had anything else to say. Oh, last thing I'll mention is that mine has one modification, which is at the bottom, I ended up using the grafting stitch to close it off. Her method in the pattern actually has you cast off each side and then use, I believe, the mattress stitch to seam together the ends. And I knew how to graft, and I was like, these are both live edges. I could just graft them together. So that's what I did. I don't think if you used her method, it would be any wrong or any different by any means. As long as you close up the end, I think that's all that matters. But super fun, quick knit. I don't really know what I'm gonna put in mine. I originally was gonna use it for like a little camera bag to keep my camera like cozy, but the yarn that I used does have a little bit of texture and it is not the like smoothest. And I'm worried that some of this like fiber might like shed. And I don't think that would be great for my camera. I could line it, but that's something I don't really want to do. So maybe it'll just be a knick-knack bag. Next up is a finished object that doesn't feel like it was recently finished. Like, feels like I talked about this a long time ago, but this wasn't even a thing in the last podcast. I think I casted it on between last one and this one, and I cast it off. It took about a week, if you're curious, and that is the Sabai top by Susanne Müller. This top, I swear to God, has been having a moment on the Instagram knitting community. I feel like I've seen it everywhere and everyone and their dog is wearing it, and honestly for good reason. It's a beautiful, very clean looking top. It knits up so quickly and I'm truly obsessed. This won't be the last time you will see this because I definitely have plans for at least 2 more. Which alludes to the fact that someone in my fall and knitting plans video was like, you seem to repeat patterns a lot. And I was like, yeah, now that you say that, I think I do. And it has solidified in me, and I think I knew this before, but like even more so, that I am a process knitter, and having a garment that I really enjoy afterwards is like a bonus. I mean, obviously the ideal would be to enjoy making the whole process as well as enjoying the finished object. But I think for me, if I know I like the finished object after making it, I don't mind repeating the process again and again, especially if it was something that in my mind was like a good process and doesn't have any hindrance, which is ironic because we'll talk about a lot of some of the hindrances that I've been working through with my whips later. But this one was a really wonderful knit. It is basically knit top down, mostly in the round. You cast on at the shoulders, which honestly has this like really nice clean shoulder line. It's like a row of stitches in the middle and it comes out on both sides. It's really, really, really clean. You cast on the shoulder seam, you knit the front yoke, or you cast on the shoulder seams, you knit the front yoke, then you flip it around, you knit the back yoke, and then you connect in the round, and then it's just stockinette until you're done. And this one is even great. You don't even have ribbing, so it's literally just all stockinette, which is my favorite kind of knitting. My version is the version number 2, which is the stockinette version. She has a version number 1, which has ribbing along all of the edges, so along the collar line, along the edge hem, and also around the armholes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Both of them are beautiful. I think I like this version a little bit better just in terms of preferences. It does mean that you have some rolled edges along the neckline as well as the hem, and I think they're really cute. It gives the kind of very formal looking silhouette a little bit of a casual look, and I really enjoy that. Did I forget to mention this is a boat neck? And the front and the back yoke are actually identical. So as much as I want to denote one is the front and one is the back, they are the same. I personally haven't had issues with wearing it without any like shaping. It hasn't caused any like choking or up closeness of near my neck. I don't know if everybody would agree with that, but I found that to be very comfortable. And my version is made in Knitting for Olive pure silk in the color Brown Bear, which is this really beautiful dark, almost like dark chocolate color. It's definitely a dark chocolate, not a milk chocolate. It doesn't have like any of that warmth that like the milk gives to warm chocolate, milk chocolate. The silk is held double, so it's a DK weight. I believe the recommended yarn is Sanus Garn Linné, which is a yarn I've never tried before, and I do want to try and make another version of this and kind of compare what the difference would be. I think the silk makes a really beautiful summer fabric, and it has a wonderful drape. I knew this from the fact that I've made like a bunch of garments with it in the past. I've never held it double, and it's really nice held double. So I'm curious to see what the Linné would be like, because I believe the Linné is like a cotton linen blend with some other plant-based fibers. So definitely would probably feel different. I'm not entirely sure. The one thing that I will mention that I don't know if this is like a hack or just something that worked really well for me is that I had a slightly smaller gauge than recommended. I don't remember what the recommended gauge was. It's raining outside. Oh, it's raining outside. I have laundry outside. One sec. Okay, this is why I have trust issues, because I checked the weather earlier today and it says it wasn't gonna rain, and I literally just checked it now and it said only 40% chance of rain, and it's literally raining outside right now. Anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was talking about this top. But I don't remember where I left off. Oh, I was talking about my gauge. Yes. So my gauge, I don't remember what the actual pattern gauge is anymore. I think it was like 19 or 20. I think the thing that worked out really well for mine is that I actually knit it on a slightly tighter gauge, not intentionally. Well, intentionally, but I swatched it on the recommended needles and it came out like 1 stitch smaller than like the recommended. And I felt like, because I knew silk, the pure silk tends to grow a lot after blocking, that it would like still end up fitting okay, even if like it was technically supposed to be a bigger gauge, if that makes sense. So I think mine actually fits really well. It doesn't have a lot of ease despite being post block. And I think that's because mine is on ever so slightly of a tighter gauge. And I think it gives a really nice dense fabric, which I really like. Last thing I'll mention about this one, just so that you're aware in case you're curious, it does only have 6 sizes. I think it's extra small to an extra large, and they correspond to fit a bust of about 72 to 4 centimeters to 140 something centimeters, and the recommended ease is 0 to 2 centimeters of ease. So range is a little bit more restrictive. I haven't come across another top that looks exactly like this, but you could probably hack the blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear into a tank top. I think the size ranging on that is a little bit better, not by a ton, but it should have a few more sizes. Or alternatively, you could probably, Petite Knit's Ivy top I think is very similar in terms of silhouette, And more recently, her garments have a bigger range. So if that is something that is of interest to you in terms of like this kind of style with the boat neck and the like very clean structured look, but your bust doesn't fit in this garment's recommended ranges, I would recommend checking out Petite Knit's Ivy Top. It's a little different. I think the boat neck is a lot narrower, but you might be able to hack it, or it would at least give you like a similar, very clean looking silhouette. So yeah, that's the Sabai top. I know it won't be my last one because I want to make a Line version of it just to see in comparison. And I have some more knitting for all of Pure Silk that I didn't really know what to do with, but I love this top so much that I think I might make a second knitting for all of Pure Silk version. But yeah, it's a really nice top. I think it is a really great top for the springtime and the summertime, especially in the silk one. And if you were to make like a merino version, it'd be really great to wear like under cardigans and stuff for the fall and winter. So yeah, it won't be my last. Those are the two finished objects that I've had. I haven't had too big of a finished object like rollout since the last podcast episode, because I think I had 3 in the last one. Sometimes I find that like my knitting happens in batches, and I'm kind of right now in a whip batch. But speaking of whips, before we get into them, I actually want to talk about some stuff that I picked up from Twist, which is a little local fiber festival that happened at the beginning of August. I was actually very good though, and didn't get any yarn for myself. I only picked up 1 skein of yarn that is actually a gift for someone that I won't mention here, so it can still be a little bit of a surprise. But I did pick up 1 crafty thing for myself that I will show shortly. So this is the skein of yarn that I picked up. It's glorious. This is from One Stitch More. It's a hand-dyed yarn, and this is in their camel silk base in this gorgeous smoky gray color. It's kind of in the light, like very sheeny. It's beautiful. This is hands down the most expensive skein of yarn that I've ever purchased. I am no stranger to beautiful hand-dyed expensive yarns, but this one came at, actually I'm not even gonna say it because the person's gonna ask and I'm not gonna tell you. This is camel silk. I've never used that blend before. It's 50% camel, I believe, and 50% silk. You get 800 meters for, I think this is a 100 gram skein, and it's so soft. It's so soft, it's so sheeny and luxurious. It has a beautiful twist. It has like the slightest kind of like almost purpley vibe. Maybe I just see purple and everything, but it's a beautiful like warm gray with a little bit of like a brown undertone. It's gorgeous. And the, I guess, dyer, when we were talking to her, my sister and I, we went together to Twist, she was talking about how 1 skein of this can make a really beautiful lace shawl. So I picked up 1 skein for the person I will gift it to. I haven't decided when I'm gonna gift it to them, so eventually, whoever you are, if you don't know who you are right now, but you will get this. It is someone close to me. I'm sorry, it's not a giveaway. I wish it was, but I only picked up 1, and I have a specific person in mind that I will be giving it to. So yeah, this is a beautiful skein of yarn. I think it would be so nice to have a sweater or something in this, but it'd be so expensive, and oh my god, it's just so soft. The other thing I got is a crafty related thing, and this is a needlepoint kit. This I got for myself. I've never done needlepoint before, but I thought it'd be fun to try out a new craft. This is a kit by Tamara Kate Designs, and it's called The Moth. It has this beautiful like moth image that I think I'm supposed to needlepoint. I've been holding off from doing this actually because I wanted to show you guys the like finished final package before I demolished and opened it. So I might film a like make this with me if you guys are curious with that. Otherwise, I'll just do it on my own and while watching a movie or something. It'll be fun. I heard that needlepoint is adjacent to cross stitch, which I have done before, except it's with yarn versus thread. And instead of doing like a cross, it's just like 1 diagonal. So it should be pretty relaxing. And I think the colors are really cute. Not sure what I want to do with the final like piece yet. Maybe put it in an embroidery hoop and put it on a wall in this room. Doesn't really go color-wise, but you know what? This room is just like a collection of things that make me happy, and the stripes make me happy, the yarn makes me happy, so maybe this will go up on the wall. But yeah, this was the only thing that I picked up for myself. I was pretty tame at Twist, and I'm pretty sure that week is when Flock was going on, and I was having Flock FOMO. Maybe Flock was the following week, but it was around the similar time, and this was like my injection of Flock into my life without going to Flock, if that makes sense. I would really like to go to Flock sometime, but I've already been to Seattle, and in terms of like trying to plan out trips, we try not to do the same place too frequently, but maybe eventually, especially if it ever lines up with Knit City Vancouver, it'd be really cool to do Knit City Vancouver and Flock like back to back on the West Coast. But anyways, yeah, those are the two that I picked up on Twist. I've been hoarding them for about a month or so now, so I want to show you guys, and I will start that needle felting kit sometime soon. Let's move on to whips. I have 3 to share. 2 are whips that you've seen before. One is a new cast on. All of them have been giving me some sort of headache in one way or another. I do think I've slowly worked through that, but earlier this week I was very much in a crafting funk, a knitting funk. Just every project I was working on and thinking about was just like, had something that made me want to like, you know? Do you ever get that? Is that just me? I don't think so. I feel like this must be a universal feeling when you're crafting. There's just like something that's not going right, or there's some sort of mental block that you can't, or are having a hard time working through. That was me earlier this week. And it definitely was compounded by the fact that I was staying up way too late on the long weekend and probably should have gotten more sleep. That's on me. But nevertheless, we are here to share the triumphs and the failures. None of these are actually failures. They're just like things that I've had to work through. And I'm just here to tell you that not everything is always sunshine and rainbows. Even on my side, I do have times that I'm really frustrated with my knits and they go into timeout because I'm just mad and don't want to deal with them. Other times that like, I sometimes have to be totally honest, an all or nothing mentality that I'm just like, I want to abandon a project completely. I'm trying to get better at like taking a break and coming back, because that I do find that really does help. I'm also really working on finding new techniques to make, or not even new, but just like finding different techniques to make things work differently, because as I've learned, I'm a process knitter and it's got to be a good process, or else I'm going to be frustrated as heck. So let's talk about the Fika Pullover first. This one has been like a long time whip. It was on pause for a bit and it came back in the last podcast episode. So first things first, let's talk about the positives. I finished the body! Woo! Look at it. It looks really weird right now, I won't lie, because it's really long and very like, at least that's the vibe that it gives me. It will stretch out more when it gets blocked, I hope. I think there's a lot of give, so I think it should be okay. Ryan has tried it on. It's very like form-fitting right now because it's just like really scrunchy and tight, but I think it will be really beautiful once it blocks out. This is a project that was designed by Sari Nordlund. I've been working on it like on and off for the past 8 months. There was a good like 3 or so months that I just like wasn't working on it at all. A lot of progress was made in the last month or two, where I think when I first came back to it, it was like right before splitting for sleeves. I was having a lot of trouble with working on a lot of stitches on the needle sizes that I had with this kind of yarn, which made me put it on timeout in the first place. And I finally pushed through it, split for sleeves. It was so much easier on the body, minus this 2 sleeve stitches. For some reason, like this extra, I want to say, I feel like there's like 60 or so stitches on each sleeve. So 120 stitches or so, like changed the process for the whole bottom bit. And so I managed to push through and finish the ribbing earlier in September, and I cast it on the sleeves, and I was thinking I was like, you know, finally home free. I know that sometimes sleeve island happens, but when I like if I'm in like in a good momentum and I cast on the sleeves, I can usually like push through. I hit a wall. I hit a wall with cabling on short needles with this yarn, and it sucked. Honestly, I was like in such a good mood. To hit that wall so hard was like a punch in the face. This has been on hold for the last week or so. I complained about it on Instagram earlier this week, and one of my knitting friends, who actually I met on Instagram and I actually met in person in real life a week or two ago at Knit Night, which was really sweet, recommended me switch to Magic Loop. So I'm gonna try that. I think actually before I try Magic Loop, I'm gonna try cabling with a cable needle, because usually I don't, and I'm wondering if that would maybe help, because something about this needle length plus this amount of stitches and this like really thick lofty yarn just makes it really difficult when you're crossing for the cables. And so I'm wondering if a cable needle will help. I don't know, anything to get me through this slump, because I really want to get this sweater done for Ryan, especially before I start his Christmas sweater. And I also really don't want to carry this one into 2026. So my goal is to get this done this year. So what else to talk about? This one, is by Sari Nordlund. It's a circular yoke all over cable sweater, as you can see here. It starts with these really cute like tiny cables at the neckline, and they grow until you get these big ones. From the sleeves downward, they're the same size cables back and forth. I can't tell if my cables are super clean, but hopefully the block will even things out. If not, it is what it is. I'm not redoing it. And this yarn is the Rerum Natura's Gilead in the color Pourvert Blanc. Where is the ball? Oh, it's right here. It's this beautiful off-white with a little bit of brown. Kind of gives me like a little bit of a weedy color, a little less yellow, but it's really nice neutral. Ryan picked this out. He also picked out the pattern itself actually, because when I had finished the halibut sweater last Christmas, I had asked him what sweater he would want next. And he was like, I want a cable sweater. And I hadn't gone Ravelry, and he picked this one out. Ryan is a guy, he does have slightly broader shoulders than I guess most of the females that this is designed for, but I don't actually know if this pattern is designed for females. I think it's just recommended for females, and at the end of the day, I'm like, circular yoke, just make a bigger size, right? So he's trying it on a handful of times. It looks like it will fit. I think it will fit a lot better once it's blocked out, but yeah. Sorry, I got sidetracked about the yarn. This is a partly woolen spun worsted weight yarn. It is very dry. It's not itchy, but it's like a dry, like toothy. When I say toothy, I always think that is associated with itchy, but I guess it's like a grippy yarn. It felt really nicely. I always split slice when I join in a new skein, and it works wonderfully. And it's a really nice yarn to use. I just think in combination with the 4mm needles, like this fabric is dense. And I think that's what's been causing me problems, because once I'm like knitting just plain stockinette, or even the ribbing, like it's been fine. I think just like crossing, especially these crosses are 5-stitch crosses, so they're quite chunky. It's just like a lot, and hopefully using some different techniques will make it a little bit more Marianne friendly, because that will be important to get to the finish line. I feel like today really hasn't been my filming day, because both my memory card and my battery just died. No, my memory card didn't die, it got dull. So I had to sort that out. So I apologize if the frame has shifted ever so slightly. I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you want to hear more about the Fika, go check out the last podcast episode. We're gonna move on to the next one, which is the Comfort Pullover. This one here is one that was in the last podcast episode too. I believe I was just about to split for sleeves, if not had just split for sleeves. But I have also finished the body on this one. This one is a test knit for Celine Feyton, I think is her last name. Yes. And it's a beautiful saddle shoulder V-neck pullover with a curved edge hem, which is really nice. I don't think I mentioned that in the last one. And I am test knitting this for her using a combination of Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Putty, which I believe has been rebranded into Limestone, held with a strand of Sunday Fiber Co.'s Sari lace in the color Salt Water. This combination. The Salt Water is this beautiful like blue white color, and then Marzipan is just a really nice kind of cool toned white. And this combination together is so luxurious. I quite frankly am really obsessed with how squishy and soft and fluffy it is, and I think it's gonna wear so nicely. It's gonna be so cozy. It'd be such a nice one to get finished. So this one is a garment that I've had a lot of off-screen on and off dilemmas, and none of it has been at the fault of the designer, and all of it has been at like the fault of this brain in here. And I just like got into a weird funk with it, to be honest with you. Part of it was, I think when I signed on for it, I fell in love with the shape and the general construction of it. There was just one element of it that I wasn't completely sold on, and it was this hem. So she has a curled edge hem on the front and the back, and they meet at the corner or like in the underarm area at this with this triangle piece. And I'm usually very used to seeing like a curved edge having a split hem, and so this like weird triangle meet, it's not weird, but in my mind was like weird triangle meeting was like strange, and I wasn't 100% sold if I liked it. I moved ahead with it anyways, and by the time I got to the end of the stockinette portion, I had done the short rows, which create that curve. I was talking to the designer about how like, I kind of really like the length and the way that the simple stockinette looks. Could I just leave it like that? And Celine actually said yes. So I cast it off, and I was having the issue that the stockinette was curling a lot. And I know stockinette inherently curls, like that's just part of the characteristic of that type of yarn. But because I think the stockinette was like combined with the short rows, it basically was curling so much that I lost all of the curve. It was just a straight edge. I tried to mediate that by doing like a purl row before doing the 4 rows of stockinette for the curled edge, and it kind of helped, but not really. It wasn't enough to, I guess, circumvent the tension that was causing the stockinette to curl. So I ended up frogging again, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do what the pattern says to do, because clearly this is something that Celine had designed intendedly with this purpose to kind of hold the curl down. So I ended up switching it back. Another thing that was going on during all of this time was that one thing that I couldn't get over was the length of the garment. So I was originally following the pattern as recommended, and it had you do a very long body of stockinette before the ribbing. And I guess for reference, like this is what it's looking at in terms of length now. But originally, like this whole length was stockinette, and then you would add another, this is almost like 3 inches of ribbing to it. And it was giving like tunic style, which is cute, but it's not my preference, especially with this like kind of like more curled edge that has ribbing that like seems to hug the booty, because the booty is obviously bigger than like your hips and your waist area. And so during all of that frogging the hems a bunch of time, by the last time around, I think I was like, I think if I like the length of it when it was the stockinette originally. So I was like, I need to frog back a bunch more so that I get the length that I want with the ribbing. I hope that makes sense. So I ended up making the design exactly as specified, minus 3 inches on the body. And I am really happy with it now. So I'm upset that I had to go through that hardship because I don't like frogging. It puts me in a bad mood, which I think is a mindset thing. I need to get better at just like accepting that that's the process. I'm still working on it, to be honest. And I don't think it helped that I'm using this hand-dyed yarn, so I had to alternate skeins, or I didn't have to, I wanted to alternate skeins. But I'm really happy with how it turned out now. Sometimes you just have to trust the designer. So yeah, I'm excited to block it because as you can see right now, the bottom is also like, because of the ribbing, I think it will like block out really nicely, and it will give the beautiful like curve that the sweater deserves. I don't know if you can see that, but the back hem is ever so slightly a little bit longer, and that was designed by Celine as well. I do like that little touch where it gives a little bit more coverage in the back. What else to say about this one? So this one's a saddle shoulder. I love saddle shoulder construction. It has a very wide saddle shoulder. This construction was also interesting where I've historically, every time I've done saddle shoulder, it has been like you make the saddle while doing it like back and forth, almost in an adjacent way to raglan construction. But Celine's saddle shoulder was that you actually knit the 2 side panels first and then you join them together. And that way you didn't have to do short rows, which I found was like interesting. It worked out, I think. I don't really have any complaints. I think it's really clean. There's just a technique that I hadn't seen before. The neck also has a rolled edge, which I like. And I'm on the sleeves. I was having a problem with the sleeves because it was sleeve island for starters. And then again, I was doing alternating skeins, which I know I don't have to, especially I've heard Sunday Fiber Co's yarns, she dyes them very evenly. I don't know how she does it, but I've heard from multiple people that like they don't alternate skeins and like you get a very cohesive look. I think having the mohair helps sometimes, but I am definitely too type A to do that. I need to know that there won't be color blocking because that will put me off from wearing a garment. I just don't like the way that it looks and it like bothers me. And so I tend to always try to alternate skeins whenever I'm working with hand-dyed yarn, and this one was no exception. So working with hand-dyed yarn on the smaller circumference on sleeve island was just like sending me into a bad mood, in combination with the Fika and the follow-up whip that I'll talk about, which was also sending me in a bad mood. So I was just like in a bad place with all of my whips. I think I'm finally coming up for hair, or on the other side of the tunnel, or whatever the insert metaphor saying is. My experience from this knit, and as well as my next knit, which is also a test knit, I'm slowly learning I need to stop doing test knits with hand-dyed yarn. Because I think that hand-dyed yarn is beautiful and I love them, and I love supporting hand dyers, and especially local ones, and they're so pretty, but like the alternating skein is just the right amount of friction that could easily put me in a bad mood if I get into a bad place. So I need to stop doing that. I am happy though that I did use stash yarn, and the thing about this one is extra bad because I'm holding yarn double. So I'm having in a situation where like I have 4 skeins to manage, and it's so frustrating sometimes, like making sure they're not tangled. Like look at this mess that I'm gonna have to deal with after the after the, can you see that video? It's probably not that bad, but look, just the thought of like untangling it is like, anyways. Alrighty, last but not least, let's talk about my final whip of at least this episode. I have a bunch of other whips that I haven't been working on, so there's no need to mention them. This is currently called the Green Vest pattern, and it's a test knit for Carissa, and I don't actually think I know her last name or if she advertises that, but she's a Canadian designer who made a test knit call earlier in the springtime for this really beautiful looking vest. It's like a very plain stockinette vest that has a little bit of cabling along the shoulder lines, and it has like 2 panels on the front, like the front panels kind of like splare out a little bit at the end, if you know what I mean. I'll insert a photo here. I think this style of vest has been having a moment this summer because I feel like a lot of people have been wearing them either knit, or I've seen a lot of like denim versions of them just like out or like on Instagram. It's a really beautiful style, and it looks really nice with jeans and skirts. It's very classic looking, so GB just hit the closet. And so this is a version of that she made a test knit call. I applied for it early in the spring, didn't hear anything from her for a couple months, and I just figured that like she didn't select me, which is totally fine. And then earlier in August, I got a message being like, oh, you were selected, would you like to move forward? And this is one of those things that retrospectively I should have said no, not because I didn't want to, but just because like capacity and like mental state. I'm now in the situation where like all of my whips are either test knits or long-term whips, and I feel like the test knits, there's a little bit of this urgency in my mind that I want to get them done as soon as possible so I don't have to like approach the deadline like worried or feel like crunched for time. And that's not to say that like test knits can't be accommodated, because every designer that I've worked with have always been super like accommodating in terms of extending timelines so that test knitters don't feel that urgency. But I think my personality type is just like I want to get it done so I don't have to deal with the fact that like I might be strapped for time later. So because I'm working on the comfort pullover and this one, and they have similar timelines, I'm feeling the same amount of like I want to get them both done, but like obviously I only knit at a certain rate. And then compounded working on the Fika Pullover, which has been a long-term whip, I feel like I'm in this like weird like either urgent or stale whip period, and I really want to cast something new on. And I think this like internal fight has been going on, which has been leading me down some of this like grumpy knitting mood. And anyways, I said yes because it was a beautiful pattern. I probably should have said no, but I am making a purple version. This is in a yarn that I've never used before. It is from Carpe Diem. Why does that sound weird? This, if that helps. Fibers. They're, I think, based in Quebec, which is really sweet. And this is 50% alpaca, 25% silk, 25% linen. And I intentionally chose this because I wanted like a really drapey summer fabric. I'm like having a little bit of regrets because I think this yarn is quite a bit like thinner, or if not thinner, it's not as plump as like the yarn that Carissa used, in her sample. And so I'm seeing this juxtaposition in terms of like mine looks like very like airy and like drapey, whereas hers has a little bit more structure, and it's been throwing me off. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it will be fine. It'll be a really nice summer garment because of this like half plant-based, half alpaca, but it's been getting in my head. I won't lie. I've just been like in a weird, like, do I like it? Do I not like it? I don't even know. Like it got so bad that I actually went out and went to go buy another yarn. I went to go pick up this yarn, which is Sunday by Santa's Garn, because I was like, I don't like it. I want a different, like just pure merino one. And then I got home and I was like, you know what? I think it'll be okay. So I'm like pushing through. So I think the problem came down to the fact that when I gauge swatch, I swatched on the recommended needle size, which was 3mm needles, and it gave me a really beautiful fabric that I actually really liked, but it was like ever so slightly too small of a stitch gauge. I think I was getting 27 stitches post block per 10 centimeters, and the recommended gauge was 26 stitches post block. But then when I sized up, the fabric was too holey and I didn't like the way it looked. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with the tighter one and then just like stretch it out a little bit more when it comes to blocking. But I think the fact that internally in my mind I'm like a little off gauge for a test knit like puts me in a like, I feel like I'm doing something bad. I'm measuring now and I'm like, my gauge is a little bit looser like when I'm just like stockinette back and forth, as opposed to like at these beginning parts where I'm like casting on. And so I think I ended up being around closer to 26, maybe 26.5 stitches. Like it should be fine at the end of the day, and like at the end product probably won't be able to tell too big of a difference. But I know that I'm off, and it just like has me a little anxious, which probably tells you a little bit something about my personality. But yeah, I really like the color, and I think it will be a great wear for like warm days in the summer. But I don't know. Something about this test knit just like hasn't been hitting as well as some other ones. I don't know if I'm like burning out from test knits or just like not in the mood for the summer, or if it's just like a combination of a bunch of smaller little things that have been like bothering me that have just like consumed into this project of just like not being having so much fun. Now that I've like joined where I'm just knitting back and forth, it's going to be a lot easier. This was also one of those situations where I am also alternating skeins because of the hand dyed factor, which I think was an important call because there's definitely a little bit of like striping, like ever so faint striping. It's not bad, but if I just did like one skein and then another skein, there would have definitely been color pooling is the word. Can you tell I'm tired? I'm getting tired. I ended up taking a little bit of a break. I was getting too hot and I needed a drink of water. So we're back. My hair is up. We are now joined by Napa. This is my little Napa. She is a lineolated parakeet. For those of you who didn't know that I had a bird, I do. And I'm actually just about to wrap up, but the last thing I want to mention is something that I finished also a while ago, so it doesn't feel like it is worth talking about, but I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast, but it's my finished headboard. You can kind of see it in this section here, very subtly in the corner, but when I moved into this room, I got a day bed, and the corner that which the day bed was in felt really empty, and I wanted to do a little quilted headboard. And I bought the fabric for it and maybe 2 podcasts ago, and I showed you guys. It was just curtains from IKEA, nothing fancy. And during the week off in August, I finally got around to making it. So I'll insert a photo of what it looks like here. It turned out better than I thought. There was a lot of ups and downs in terms of making that, which we won't get into because it's not necessary, but excuse me. The end result I'm relatively pleased with. I don't know if I'm sold on how I've put it on the wall. It's currently Velcroed to the wall. I was reading the reviews of the Velcro that I bought because it was like self-adhesive Velcro, and they were saying like once you put that on the wall, it won't come off. So I like ended up putting painter's tape on and then the Velcro on that. And you can kind of see the painter tape in like certain angles. So we'll see how long that lasts. I might have to switch it out eventually for something else. But for now, it's up. I'm happy with how it looks. It adds a little bit of coziness to the corner and a little bit of color. And I think Napa is probably gonna poop on me soon. So I'm gonna call it here. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I felt like it was a little rambly, but that might just be because I filmed twice in a row. And so I've been talking for like 3 hours at this point. But I hope you're having a wonderful crafty day. I hope to see you guys the next time when I'm in a little bit of a better knitting mood, and we'll have some new things casted on because I am craving just some comfort knitting. And honestly, the comfort pullover sleeve in the round is just stockinette. It's like kind of hitting that spot, but I also think I just want something that is just one strand of yarn and just stockinette in the round. So, well, maybe cast something on in the not so distant future. But until then, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.